This is my voice, man. Welcome to the 100th episode of Chewing the Fat. I am your host, Big Rob. Thank you so much for being here, for tuning in, downloading the podcast. I certainly do appreciate it. I would not be here if it was not for you, the listeners. So thank you so much for being a part of this journey. It is a big milestone for me, where it's the first episode of season 5 of the podcast, and it is our 100th episode. So I wanted to make sure that I had something very special for you as we launch into season 5. My guest this week, he is a voice that you have heard everywhere. I am absolutely sure you've heard his voice everywhere. He's he was the voice of Fox. He's the voice of trailers. He is the voice of something special we'll get into a little bit later. I've got a question about, but please welcome right now, Joe Cipriano.
Rob, thank you very much. What a pleasure to be here and an honor on show number 100.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here, man. This is
thank you.
Oh gosh, I'm just beaming at this. I had a chance to meet Joe in person at VO Atlanta last year. We shared a table for lunch. Then I've had a chance to go through his intro to promo master class,
and I got a chance to go through his luggage.
And his that fanny pack you carry is stuffed full.
Hey, that's a man bag.
Oh, sorry. But Joe is a voice that I had heard while working at a Fox affiliate here in Augusta, because he was the voice of Fox promo for the animation domination and all of those great promos that I was hearing. And to find that he's just one of the most down to earth, honest, just great people. It renewed my confidence in humanity to find someone at the level that he is, that he's just Joe. He's just a guy.
Yeah,
so
I always say, if you can fake genuine, you're golden.
So, Joe, you're talking to us from your studio there. Are you in California now?
We're in Los Angeles, yeah, and we bounce back and forth from here to West Palm Beach for family. My daughter and her family, my great son-in-law, Ryan, and my 2 grandkids, Theo and James, are there. And my wife, Ann, and I have a place that we rent there, which is about 5 minutes away from their house. And my best friend happens to live there. So I have a lot going on there, which I love. And then our life really is here. This is where we built our lives together, my wife and I, and raised our kids, and my son and his wife, and they are expecting their first child, a little girl, in June. So we bounce back and forth. But yeah, here I am in my studio bricks here. And by the way, George Whittam is coming in this Sunday to upgrade everything. Oh, wow. All new computer, all new everything, equipment wise.
Yeah, and George is a great guy too. I got to meet him at VO Atlanta. It was such a cool experience for me. First time at a voiceover conference to go to VO Atlanta and to really find my tribe, to find the group of people that are so like-minded and so open and so friendly. There's a lot of stigma about like actors, and I mean, we are voice actors, but they say that acting's such a cutthroat business and this, that, and the other. But I have not experienced that yet. In VO, in voice acting, everybody is like, oh no, let me show you. This is the microphone I use. Oh, this, that, and the other. Or have you talked to this person or that person? It's so warm and welcoming, and we're all kind of in it together. And everybody has that kind of attitude that, there's room at the table for everybody, and everybody can eat. You don't have to just sit at the table and not eat and watch other people. Everybody can eat at the table, and I think it's amazing.
Right. And I take joy in watching people who are coming into the industry and learning about it. And, all of a sudden there's that aha light that goes and how, you kind of, I get it. I get what needs to be done here. And there's a lot that needs to be done. Yeah. It's, you're a solopreneur and running the show, and this is your business, and hopefully you have good agents that you have a great relationship with that you can speak to at any time. I mean, I think that's the goal, is having a support team, both personally and professionally, that allows you to go through the creative process and take risks. I'm a big creative risk taker. I am no way a risk taker in my personal life.
And for you, you started in radio, right? In Connecticut?
Yeah, in Connecticut. Yeah, Waterbury, Connecticut. My hometown. I grew up in Oakville, Connecticut, which was just 15 minutes away from Waterbury, which was the bigger city, if you can call it city. It was called the Brass City back in the old days.
Oh, wow.
They did everything brass, clocks and doorknobs and, yeah.
If you need anything brass, go to Waterbury, Connecticut. That's where you went. That's amazing. And I read your book, Living on Air. And actually I listened to the audiobook of it, and the audiobook was amazing. I love the audiobook because as an old radio guy myself, it was so cool to hear your old air checks from your first radio gig and from the radio stations along the way. Because I've got tapes and carts in a closet with all that stuff and reel to reel, and so it was cool to hear those moments in time.
Yeah. And I got to give a shout out to AJ McKay, who did all of the audio magic, for the audiobook, hours and hours and hours of work. And Greg Chun, who did the original music that we used, and also Maurice Tobias, who directed. So
it was such a it was just like sitting down and having these conversations with old radio buddies, and because we all have similar stories. Radio is one of those interesting careers where everybody's had the same thing happen at some point in some form or fashion.
It's amazing how relatable it is, and how many emails and texts and messages on Facebook that people say, "Oh my gosh, I did that exact same thing," or and the reviews, like on Amazon, I always like to go to every once in a while, and you get a lot of that. How relatable it is to one's own career.
So, in growing up there in Waterbury, what was it about radio that attracted you to want to do that first?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do something to do with television. I was a bit of a ham, and I see it in my granddaughter. Oh my gosh, it's so funny how we've got the same genes, I guess. And she's only 7. But she's already dancing in competition, and she wants to sing, and she's taking singing lessons, and she's modeling, and she's beautiful, and she knows what she's doing at 7. For modeling, she knows the angles, camera angles, and things. It's like, it blows me away. So, I knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't know how to get there, and I was anxious to get there. I was maybe 10 or 11 or 12. And it did hit me that, like those old time guys like Bob Hope and all those guys, they all started in radio. Yeah. So maybe radio is a path, to future career growth in television, and that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on camera as well. So I thought, okay, well, that's something I can do locally. We have a great radio station right here in Waterbury. AM was king. Nobody listened to FM. This was in the early 70s. And, or actually it was 1969 when I was 14. And I called him, called my favorite DJ, who was the afternoon guy, Jerry Wolf, and just happened upon a nice guy. And he invited me down to the station. And then from there, I would go in on Saturdays and do probably things that you would do early on in your career. You just hang out at the station, you file records. We had records at the time. They used to have a phone number that you would call for WWCO instant news. And the jocks, the on-air people, would record that AP or UPI headline into a little answering machine.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, you can do that, kid. So I thought I would go home and dial it up constantly and listen to myself,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember.
And then eventually from 14 hanging there, and when I turned 16 and I got my third class license, which you needed from the FCC, I got hired.
Yeah.
And I put on the air.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day about that they worked at a radio station and they didn't have to have a license. I was like, gosh, I said, I remember that. I remember having to take the test and get a license to be able to open a microphone, to be on the air. And now it's like, oh, whatever, anybody can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's so wild to see.
Well, that's cool. You were on the tail end of that then, that you experienced that. Yeah.
Yep. I had my radio telephone operator's license.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And it's so funny though that like the way technology has now changed as far as it went from that type of thing where we were, had to be licensed federally to open a microphone and speak over, these 100,000 watt airwaves or whatever.
Yes.
And now, somebody from a phone can start their own, virtual internet radio station or whatever. And,
listen, I've got a small little, it's not a Mac Mini, but it kind of looks like that. And I have my own little radio station on my desk right here that plays, hits from the 70s, 80s, 90s. And I listen to it in the car all the time. I drive my wife nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what it's all old air checks.
Oh,
Rob.
wow.
It's all classic stations like Super CFL in Chicago and KHJ in Los Angeles, WRKO in Boston, WABC in New York, 99X in New York. And it's all air checks from the jocks that were on the air. And if they're cut up air checks, how we would have an air check where they take out the middle of the song and it just goes from the introduction to the end, I put the song back in. So it's like live if the station had come back to life.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's interspersed with also music that wasn't played from the era of the radio station. This jock is suddenly introing without saying the name, but talking over the intro of Miley Cyrus, or Taylor Swift. And it's a 1972 air check.
Oh, that's awesome.
They weren't even born.
Right.
Weren't even thought of.
That is so cool. And but I think that's great, especially as I'm diving into the world of voice acting and things like that, because it brings those coasts together. It used to be you had to go to Los Angeles where you are, or you had to go to New York, or maybe you went to a Chicago or something like that,
right.
Because radio itself, to do well in radio, you had to move to where the next station wanted you. You had to move up in your markets. You had to keep going. Whereas now, you can be on said station in California without necessarily having to be in California. You can do that from your home studio, and it's made the pool so much smaller, but so much deeper. I think it is a wealth of knowledge, and when you get to know these people and you get to see the depth of their work and the stuff like that, and know that you can be here within it. I think it's one of the coolest things that technology has allowed us to do. Yeah.
Both in radio and in voiceover, we can do it from anywhere. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. And so I know you left Connecticut. You went to a couple other stations around, and then you ended
Washington, D.C.
Yeah. And then you ended up in California. You made the big move to the coast.
I did not want to be that nomadic sort of air personality that did, 10 different markets. When I finally decided I was in Washington, D.C., it's where I met Ann. We both worked at NBC there. And so we're both broadcasters, which was great for our relationship. And even to this day, we understand each other's schedules. And she understands when we're going to go to dinner at 7:00, but we get a call from the agent who says, CBS needs you at 7:15, and then she just sits back down, opens a book, and then no big deal. You go out at 7:45, where in other relationships, it could be a real big deal. So we do have that. But when I, in DC, became aware of these voices on networks, TV networks, I thought, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get to LA because, like you said, you had to be there. That's where it's done. There was no other way to do it. And they weren't interested in you at all unless you are there physically so you can come into the studios.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because that's where the big microphones were. That's where you could go in and you could be in the well-padded booth, because let's face it, radio stations are terrible audio booths for the most part.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, for what you're
there's
doing.
all kinds of equipment, fans going.
Yeah.
I mean, in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. So but to be in a place built for purpose, and the purpose being, voiceover and like I said, getting into promos and things like that. And then, because that's where, for me, that's where the big voices were. That's where, the Don LaFontaines were. And that's where you went. You were in that Mount Rushmore of voices. You know what I mean? You're in that realm.
Yeah, I was down on ground level looking up at the mountain.
But you were there.
I was there.
You were in Black Hills. You were looking.
At least I was in the proximity.
Right.
Now,
you're in the national park. You're in the national park at least. Now you're up there. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the big thing that took you from, because you went to go there to pursue promo, but you were still working in radio. What was that big opportunity that was like, all right, cool, I can do this? I mean, was it just a random call?
It happened gradually, and I think that happens a lot. A lot of overnight successes are many years of gradual, successes. Yeah, and so I used radio, and I tell this to anybody who's moving into a new city, pursuing acting, voiceover, whatever. That it sure is a lot better lifestyle if you have a day job, that pays the rent, or the mortgage, or the whatever, the car, food is good,
food's important.
So I'm big on the day job, and I wouldn't move to LA. It slowed me down, but not much more than a year in waiting to find a job on the air in Los Angeles, and I did. So that's what brought us there. For Anne, she quit the TV station where she was a news writer, came here. I took a pay cut, Rob, because I found out later that they pay you in sunshine in Los Angeles. I thought, I didn't know that. Okay. So I took a pay cut, but she was an East Coast schooled journalism major, and she had a huge uptick in her income. So it all leveled out. And she started writing news for first the KCBS station, and then settled in at KABC TV here as a news writer and producer. But yeah, and then, okay, so I'm here. And then, you're on the air. I was doing 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And while I was on the air, I was typing up tape box labels, for my demo, which I had crafted together, cobbled together in the production room at the radio station, doing spots that I thought, well, okay, I think I could get booked on these. This is, kind of like up my alley. And I did something that actually ended up being a very good thing. Being at a radio station, part of your job, you're on the air, but you're also what they call carting up spots, right? So the commercials come in, you put them on the cartridges that can be used. Now it's digital, of course, and could be played on the air. And each one of those boxes of tape that would come in with commercials on them had addresses and names of recording studios, local local agencies. And that became, I was building a database that I didn't even know what a database was, but that's who I'm hitting. Yeah. While I'm on the air and the songs are playing, and I'm typing over here and the song's over, and I go in and 97 KH, whatever. And back. So from doing that, and also pursuing, trying to find an agent, found an agent, not somebody who's really invested in you, but I got somebody, and I started to get little things. I think the first thing that I got, I started doing some Saturday morning TV promos for ABC back when Ernie Anderson was the voice. I got to sit in his chair with this microphone. Only back then it was the silver 415 or whatever it was called. And I did, a couple of Saturday morning cartoon promos. I got some primetime CBS stuff in show for, at the beginning of the show last week on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Things like that. Little things like that. And then I started to, for some reason, I was getting booked to do movie trailers.
Yeah.
And that was a big step. And my first biggest movie trailer was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes.
Which is kind of a watershed film for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, the one that really got me, work begets work. And it's like, who's that on that, and, well, I want him on, I did the Tom Cruise movie, All the Right Moves. And, it just kind of goes on. Trailers were very different there then. They were, almost like a disc jockey, copy. So, it just so happened that timing was right,
Yeah.
And that went on for a few years. That started in 82. And then being on the air at Kiss FM in Los Angeles, one day the head of marketing for a brand new network called Fox that had just gone on the air was driving home to Simi Valley, which is quite a drive, especially in rush hour. I was on in the afternoon filling in for somebody and heard me. And he's thinking, what am I going to do to make this new fourth network stand out from the big three? And, all the other voices were the big, deep voices.
Yeah.
And he heard me on the air and he goes, that's different. So he picked up his brick of a cell phone in his car and called the radio station. And that was 1988. And that's what started me at Fox. And I was there for 20 something years as
awesome.
Comedy voice of the network.
That's awesome.
Bob Bibb is his name, by the way. I say that out loud as often as I can.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is so cool. And like you said, it's you went there with intention. You were doing what you could do. You put yourself in a place and you did the work so that you were prepared. So people talk about luck and this, that, and the other. And I'm one of these people that's like, luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity.
Absolutely.
You were prepared. The opportunity arrived. That's what then took you into 20 something years of doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it wasn't all sunshine and flowers, Yeah. Because I lost one of my jobs in radio, and then all of a sudden I didn't have income, and we were reliant upon Ann's income. But then our first child was being born, and she was going to take time off. So, there were times there where it was looking grim, and we owned a house by then, and I started thinking, gosh. I got an offer to go to WLS-FM in Chicago, and I was this close, to saying, God, am I going to have to do this? I'm going to have to go there and get back on our feet and come back. But I trusted myself, my work ethic. I just had a leap of faith, and I said, we're not going to do it. And I ended up getting another radio job. It wasn't, great, but it was, I was working late nights, but it still allowed me to do voiceover work during the day. This is before Fox, this is in that 82 to 88, those 6 years of getting to the big gig. Yeah.
But it allowed you to stay there, to stay in in the neighborhood, in the, the culture of where the opportunity that you wanted lived.
Right. Because I felt, it definitely would be a big step backwards. And I'm just taking myself out of it. Then I'm just in a pool of Chicago talent, for example,
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of promo work and maybe some national commercial stuff, but that was never my stronghold. I never really did a lot of commercial work.
I know I can't remember where if it was in your book or if it was in a conversation that we had previously, you talk about the big red light on your head, and sounds to me like you were trying to keep that light shining, and that's why you stayed where you were. Can you give us a little bit more background on the big red light?
Yeah. Wayne Dvorak is an acting teacher, and my friend Stoney Richards, who was also a radio DJ and pretty successful actor on camera. He came out to LA. He and his wife came out to LA after Ann and I did, because they just couldn't take it. We were 4 of us were in DC, and we made it. And within 2 months, 3 months, they got a U-Haul and drove to LA. He did it the other way. No job. And it was a super struggle. Mm-hmm. He worked for the Department of Water and Power for a while.
Wow.
And thankfully there was an opening at the station I was at, and I was able to talk to the program director and bring in his, tape, and he was hired for the late night shift. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was, this acting class, with, Wayne Dvorak that Stoney and I were in, and it was, once or twice a week. And he told this story of persistence, really, and always staying, in the moment, always working towards a goal, never letting your ambition lapse. Mm-hmm. And he said, there are the gods of making dreams come true up in the heavens, and they're looking down. And all of us have these little red lights on top of our heads. And whenever you're working on your goal and you're passionate about it and you don't give up and you're just doing something every day, that red light is so bright, and they can see it and they can track you and they can help to guide you and push you in the right direction. But as often happens, it gets busy, and maybe something that you were doing every day, now you're doing it twice a week to work towards the goal. And then it starts to be even less and less, and the light dims, and all they can see are those bright lights of the people that are working towards the goal 100%. So you always have to keep that red light glowing brightly, and work on your passion and work on your goals every single day. I always worked at least an hour a day on moving it forward. And you'd be surprised. That doesn't sound like much, and it really isn't. But if you can devote 1 hour a day to something that you are passionate about and you want to achieve, you're going to move it along. You'd be surprised.
I absolutely love that. I love that. Mm-hmm. Part of what you do now is helping to get others to become persistent, to push that needle forward through some of your master classes that you offer in promo. I was honored to take your intro to promo masterclass. And
you were great. And you really, and you got it, which is great. It's a go at your own pace. Mm-hmm. So, and you probably saw from the booklet that you were in, mm-hmm. we had several people, voiceover talent in there. You were always ahead of everyone because you were working at it every day and moving it forward. I think that book is still open. I think there are at least 2 people that
they hadn't finished.
They haven't gotten very far in it. Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and do some more just to do them again. I'm gonna redo do it twice before they finish once. There you go. Well, what happened to make you want to say, you know what? I'm at a point that I am now. I need to share this information out.
Yeah, I've been asked over the years, and I'm very thankful that I'm continually asked to teach, to share my experiences. And to be honest, Rob, I guess I was back then, I was a little embarrassed because I'm a very confident person in just about everything. I had no confidence in teaching. I just didn't. I look at a script. And I learned this from Don LaFontaine. We both worked at Fox. We were the 2 voices at Fox for years and years. Mm-hmm. And we were there at the network every day, crisscrossing, going into their 4 different studios, mm-hmm. all day long. He doing drama and I was doing comedy. But you look at a script and I just know what I need to do. And then when you see the spot and you hear the music, well, then it's absolutely cemented. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I do internally. It's not something that I felt I could vocalize, that I could tell people, here's what you need to do to find the voice, the perspective, what you are going to do with this script, and then having a talent read it and then having to redirect them. I just felt, oh God, I lacked the confidence in being able to guide someone in a read. And I would try and I would do these, and people would tell me, gosh, I got so much out of your class. And I was always so surprised because I didn't feel I was giving enough.
Yeah.
But I did. It was New Year's morning of 2023. Ann and I were in Orlando at friend's house. We had celebrated New Year's Eve, and we were still in bed, and I'm, flipping through Instagram, and I follow Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he has he's very present in social media. He's got a lot up there, and he's very inspirational in a lot of the stuff that he does. And he did this thing. He was walking on a path at his house. It might have been in Hawaii. I don't know where he was. But he said, I want to share something with you. It's New Year's Day. People are working on thinking about goals, what they want to do in the year, the upcoming year. And I have this saying on my desk, and I keep it with me wherever I go. I have it in my briefcase, and it's about goals. And you look at your goals and you say, is that a one day sort of thing? One day. Or you look at one and you say, this is day one. Okay. And that really hit me. And I said, I am tired of this wishy-washy way of teaching and sharing, my experience. This is day one. I'm going to come up with a curriculum. I'm going to come up with a plan. I am going to work at this just like I worked at trying to get into voiceover in the first place. It's the same sort of thing. And along with my daughter-in-law, Sarah Cipriano, who's a great designer, graphic artist, and she's a social media marketer. She works for an ad agency. She found a platform. I got to know the people who run the platform, changed it to the way I needed. I asked for changes in it. She designed all of the pages, all of the artwork in it, how we're going to present the scripts, how we're going to present the promos. And it took 7 months. And then in the summer, we launched it light with Heather Foster, who's a voiceover artist, was the first one to do it. I asked her if she would do it. And so from her experience, we made some changes, and then we officially launched in November end of 2023. And so it's been going since then, and we've improved it along the way, and it's getting better and better. But for me, now I know what I'm doing. I know how I'm teaching. I know what I need to do. I have the material. It's something called being prepared.
Right.
And I finally, in that part of my life, I was prepared. I pretty much prepared in everything else. And I'm happy to have that there. And now it's a part of my day in between sessions and what I do in the day, both professionally and personally. I'm able to do that, and I can do it. I could do it on my cell phone. I could be, sitting outside or at lunch and going through reads and listening to them and then commenting, and I can leave a video, and it's asynchronous, as you know, you did it.
Yeah.
So you can post something, I get a notification, and then when I can get back, I get in, I can listen to your read or watch your video, respond to it, leave a video with my thoughts and direction and changes or, encouragement. And then they get a notification. And so it's a conversation exactly like this, except it's asynchronous. It's not happening live, but you get the same benefit of what we're doing right now. Yeah. The course of maybe a day or 2 days, we are having that conversation.
Yeah. It was such a cool process, and it's direct access to you. It's not, it's not a bot, it's not an AI, it's you. It's wherever you are, and you're giving your years of experience to the people that are taking this class. It was such an amazing experience.
Thank you. I think with anything, I work with coaches all the time, and people like Dave Walsh, and if I'm working on a read, I'll go to Dave, and then we'll do a session together. And I'm getting his perspective on it. You're getting my perspective on it. I think it's important to have a few different people that are giving you their perspectives. And when you have a few different ideas coming in, and you get to process that and roll it around, then it becomes you. Yeah. And you might take a little bit from what Dave says, a little bit from what Joe says, and then it becomes Rob, what you're doing in your performances.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And like I said, it was a great experience for me. I really got a lot out of that.
That's great.
I did want to ask you one specific thing that you've done in your career that I can't believe I hadn't asked you about this before in the times that we've talked. How did it happen, and what was it like to be the American voice of Morimoto on Iron Chef?
Good for you, Rob. And the cool thing about that is that show runs constantly.
Yes.
You channel surf a little bit, and you'll see Iron Chef America. Oh my God. And I'll go to it and I go, oh my gosh, I remember this episode. That was a company called Triage that would shoot that show. I got to be very friendly with the director of the show after I had started working on it, and the production people. It's a very good question on how. I think it came out of an audition. I think it might have, or I had done some other work for them. It's funny. I'll have to go back and think about that. But they were looking. It was funny. Chef Morimoto speaks English.
Yeah.
For some reason, they thought we're going to get a voiceover talent to interpret what he says. And the first several years of it, we were very campy, and I loved doing that. It got a little bit more to script as it went on. But like, for example, if he's describing the food that he's just made, and he would laugh, and I'm describing it while he's saying it. In English, and he's speaking in English too, but we're over the top of him, and he would laugh and I would laugh, and we would just do silly, stupid stuff. We would, in those sessions, we were laughing so much. I would just come up with anything, and just throw it out there. Some they would keep, some they wouldn't. Yeah. And, but yeah, that's, and I think that after I'm long gone, the Iron Chef America and the Morimoto gig will live on. I think my grandchildren and their children might go, oh, there's Papa,
That is,
but
so
it was
cool.
It was fun. It was, and it was not done in a traditional. I was not in a booth. I sat in the back of the room in the audio room. They didn't have a booth. And I just sat at a copy stand, like a music stand, the metal music stand.
Yeah.
And they were playing it on the speakers, and they would play it down, and they go, okay, Joe, here it is. And I'm looking at the script, and then you get the feel of the timing and how you do it. And then, you go in and you do it. And it was, and again, because we were in the same room, it was so easy to laugh and slap each other on the back and just, oh my gosh, I can't believe, whatever. But what a fun gig.
That's awesome.
That was.
Did you ever get to meet Morimoto? Have you ever met him? Have you tried any of his food?
A number of times. And I think the first time was actually, I was with my family and we were in Hawaii. And I think he has I can't remember if it was Maui or Honolulu. But I had gotten to the point where I knew his assistant, and if we were going to go to the Morimoto restaurant, I could email the assistant and they could get me a reservation. And I said, we're going to Hawaii. and really want to be able to dine with my kids and my wife and I. And he said, "Oh my gosh, chef will be there." And I was like, "Oh my God." He came over, he ordered all this food for us, and he said, "Joe, this is my voice man. This is my voice man." And and then he told us a story that I found so hilarious. He goes, "What is wrong with me?" He said, "I'm here in America. I'm doing Iron Chef America. I'm speaking in English, and they hire somebody to interpret what I say." And I go, "I know, He said, "But your voice, it's so wonderful." He goes, "I have the same show in Japan. I speak Japanese. I do the show in Japan in Japanese, and they hire a voice talent to interpret my Japanese. What is wrong? What is wrong with me? Am I not speaking clearly? What it's about? Who knows how many other languages he speaks?" Right. It was so funny. It was so funny. So we have a great picture of my family and him. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
With Morimoto. He's a very sweet man.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Joe, what is bringing you joy right now?
Well, here it comes. My grandkids.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean, I can break it up professionally and personally. I have a great amount of joy in the fact that I can still be working in this industry and doing things that challenge me and allow me to creatively, express myself. And I'm working on a number of different things that I love to do. And so that professionally brings me so much joy. But then at the same time, being with my grandkids and my wife and I, we hold that up very high in how we lead our lives, is being so involved in a part of our grandkids' lives. And we get it back from them over and over again. And of course, my daughter and my son-in-law, they're very happy that we're a part of it and doing that. And, you can imagine the joy in that. I mean, I can be doing sessions down there in West Palm Beach in my little booth, but know that at 3:00 I have to go pick up my granddaughter. Ann and I are going to go pick her up, and we're going to take her to dance. And then we come over to our place to play a little bit. I can go back into the booth, finish up my work there, come back out, play a little bit more, then go, bring her home. Same with my grandson. We do the same thing with both of them. And now my son here in Los Angeles will be having a child. So we will even up the days. We spend a little bit more in West Palm. So now it's going to even up a little bit because we need to be on both coasts, for the personal side of it. But how great, Rob, that this time and place for me to have that happening, any of us happening in our personal lives, that we're at a point where technically we can do our work from anywhere. Yeah. And it's not a burden. It's plug and play.
All right, Joe, this is the second segment of the show. This is where we dive a little bit deeper into your mental health journey. As someone who believes the more we talk about it, the lighter the burden is, especially of depression, because depression wants to tell us that we're alone. So the more that we talk about it, the easier that gets. So for you, how do you keep the darkness at bay?
I think that, we're in an industry where it feels so personal, because everything that we do in auditioning for jobs, once you get a job, and using your creativity to give to it what you think you need. We're in a job, unfortunately, where there are a lot more no's than yeses. Yeah. And the fact that you don't get hired for gigs that you really, really wanted, and you thought actually that you would be able to do something really special with it. You have to, and it's a cliche, but you really do have to not take it personally, because I think It depends on the type of person. I don't know if it's the hard shell or if it's able to, if you need to kind of build up some sort of a barrier around your heart and your soul, that, you don't take it internally in, and you could feel that your shoulders start to hunch and you bend forward. You have to be almost more like you got to stand in that Superman pose so that all of this bounces off. So part of it is that I know that I have the ability to ward off, that what could be a pretty serious depression when things are going so great, but it also helps me be the most persistent person in the room and also keep my positivity, about it. And then personal life, it means a lot, to be blessed with professional. I don't even need to use the word success, just being able to work, at a certain level, and having a partner, who believes in you and is 100% behind you no matter what, and beyond that, having your kids that you love and they return that love, and now grandchildren, having a well-rounded personal life. And not everybody has that. And I've been so blessed and so fortunate to have that, almost to the point where it's not fair, because I know the struggles that people go through because they don't have that. And keeping, yourself positive is such a daily sort of, you have to wake up with it and say, I'm going to get through this day. I'm going to look for the positive points. I'm not going to dwell on the negativity, because gosh, there's a lot of that out there, and it's just aligning yourself, I think, in the way that you think and the way that you carry out your day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the things that I've said about finding, my tribe in VO. We're all doing the same thing, so we all know the same struggle. But it's important to connect with people. You could still be out here on your own in this very warm, welcoming community, but if you don't open yourself up to find people that can be your inner circle, find people that you can talk to plainly with, like, hey, I'm having a bad day, or I just got a turn down from, an audition, and they just raked me over the coals about, you know what I mean? Because it does happen every so often.
Oh, yeah.
Where, people can be unkind as opposed to just no. They want to tell you exactly why no and why you're not fit for any job. But, unfortunately,
it also says a lot about those people who are unkind and what's going on in their own lives. And what's happening with them. I had done something. I think it wasn't an audition. It was a job, and it was for a radio station in Chicago. How about that? And I was dealing with the whoever was directing. I think he was either the program director or something. And I just wasn't getting what he needed me to do, and he was angry at me. He said, "You know what? The best thing you did in this entire session was slate your name."
Wow!
I thought, oh my God!
Wow!
It was all downhill from there.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's the thing, is having that group that you can turn to. I mean, you've got a great attitude about it. You're laughing about it. People that are new starting out don't have that Superman skin yet,
No.
And that could be the kind of thing that turns them off and like, well, I'm just not made for this. I'm going to, no matter how much they've been coaching and passionate about, that could be something that could literally derail them from their passion, from their career.
And you know what you said is so true. And in finding people who are like-minded and or who are going through the same experience that you are. And that's why the voiceover community is so supportive of one another. I think it's because of all the difficulties and the negativity that you have to deal with, and the disappointments. There's a lot of disappointments. I mean, I really feel that this whole job, and I'm sure it's true for other careers as well, there are these deep, just hurt you in your soul, disappointments, and then these most unbelievable highs of a success, of one success. But having somebody that understands that and goes through it. That's why I said with my wife, we're both broadcasters. We kind of understand what's going on in each other's lives. But that's why even to this day, I have my tribe too. I have my guys that I came up with, like Don LaFontaine, who left us years ago. But people like Townsend Coleman, who whenever I'm in LA, we're having dinner together. Reno Romano, he's very close friend and confidant, and also we just understand one another. So many of Dave Fenoy and so many others that we all came up together. Many of us are on the Don LaFontaine Voiceover Lab Advisory Board, and we get together to move that forward, really, and do great things with that. But yeah, you have to have that. And I think that's one way of warding off, the weight that can be put upon you. And I understand how people can fall into depression, which is so devastating.
And I think, and again, just speaking from as a voice actor and in the industry that we are in, just as much as we are okay putting ourselves out there in an audition, we have to be okay in putting ourselves out there into trying to build that tribe. To be open to say, hey, I don't know you, but do you want to come sit at the table? Let's have a coffee. Let's have a conversation. Where, just getting to know each other. And that's why situations like, a conference like VO Atlanta, WOVO, MAVO, the different conferences, One Voice, where you can get together and you can find those people. Yes, you can learn and you can go to the panels and you can take the X sessions and things like that help build your career. But I think if you neglect the building of your tribe, your support system, you're missing some of the point.
That is the great success of, voiceover conferences getting together. It's so important. And you're right. You can separate the two. Sure, you can learn there. But I really think the important part of it is the community, the camaraderie and all of that. Listen, coming up, there was no such thing for me as a voiceover conference. In fact, you couldn't find anybody else. I mean, here I am in great, big, wonderful Los Angeles. And sure, I would see Townsend. I've known Townsend since he came to town. I came here in 1980. He didn't get here until later, maybe later 80s. But we used to go out to auditions. You would do live auditions. So that was our way of building a community. The problem was you're all in that room and you're all up for one job. So some people handle that differently than others. Some want to make the mark of, I'm the one that's going to get this job, and the others are just, we're thrilled to be together and working on something. And I hope good luck going in there, man, go do it, and we would do that for one another.
Yeah.
So that was ours. That's all we had. And that's how we got to know the other voiceover talent that were in our area and working in kind of the genres that we work in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, like I said, it's the technology, the ability to kind of shrink the size of the pond, but increase the depth of it. It's a blessing for
and
sure.
Inherently nowadays, the way we do our work is so isolating. So it's very important to get out there, and isolation doesn't work, in for mental health. That's for sure.
All right, Joe, this is the third segment of the program. It is time now for the Fast Five. The Fast Five. It's time now for the Fast Five. Fast Five. I'm still working on a theme song.
I didn't know you had a jingle. That's awesome, Rob. That's
5 seasons, and I still don't have anything recorded for that, but I'll work on it. I'll keep working on it.
Okay.
Fast Five is powered by Poddex. It's an app created by my friend Travis Brown. If you go to chewingthefatbr.com/Poddex, it'll take you to the link where you can download it on your favorite mobile device. It's created for podcasters, but they're great icebreaker questions in all kind of different categories. But first thing that comes to the top of your head, no wrong answers. You ready, Joe?
I am ready.
Here we go. Question number 1. If you could go on an adventure tomorrow, what adventure would you choose?
Well, I would say I'm not so much of an adventurous person, but I do love to travel. So I would say I would go to Italy and pick a town, another town that we haven't been to before. I just recently got my dual citizenship. I sono italiano. I am an Italian citizen.
Oh, wow.
So I have 2 passports now, and I'm looking forward to using that. So that would be my adventure now, using that new passport, going to Italy and traveling as an EU citizen.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Question number 2. Burger or hot dog?
Burger.
Really?
I struggled with hot dogs my whole childhood life. I didn't understand why people liked hot dogs. I would try. It looks so good. It's in a bun. You put ketchup on it. Sorry, Chicago. You put mustard on it. You put relish on it, whatever. And I would do that. And I bite into it and I go, blah, I do not like a hot dog. So I was always a hamburger, cheeseburger, especially American cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And I can do the lettuce, tomato, no onions, mayo, ketchup, delicious. And my new love is smash burgers. I love smash burgers.
Yeah.
But I will say, in my advanced years, I've gotten to the point where I can eat a hot dog, especially at a ball game, whether it's face or foot. I can do it.
Okay.
But hamburger it is.
Awesome. Question number 3. What's the best compliment you ever received?
I have to say that Ernie Anderson, when I was doing those ABC things, and I was just doing, it was the intro of the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. And I sat at his microphone, and he came in and he goes, "Hey, so you're that guy." He goes, "You're good." That was it. That was like the best compliment at the time when I really needed something, talking about that, coming together of being in the right place and all of that.
That's awesome.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah. But, and I think that's someone you looked up to. Like you said, that Mount Rushmore, that's someone you looked up to tell you, hey, you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, as we sit here, you've won, Lifetime Achievement Awards from, the vocal academies and Silvas and things like that, and so many other awards that I'm sure fill up an entire room, a trophy case. But yes, for someone that I say it doesn't take much for a compliment when it's someone that you respect and you look up to say that thing that pushes you forward. Like you said, that's a time that you needed it. And that was the perfect thing to say.
And it didn't have to be a gushing sort of something that went on for paragraphs. Yeah. It was just, you're good.
That's awesome.
And at a time when, God, I think I'm good. I wish I was good. Does anybody think I'm good?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here comes Ernie Anderson to tell me I'm good.
And by the way, I'm the best. So you're good.
Yeah. I love that. Question number 4. Another food question for you. Is there any local dish or food product from where you grew up that you miss?
Oh, from where I grew up.
Yeah.
Well, My mom, I'm Italian. My mom would make her own sauce.
Yeah.
Which, the East Coast American Italians called tomato sauce gravy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. And, I mean, if you ever watch The Ciprianos, they had a word for everything that had nothing to do with Italian and pretty much nothing to do with English. It was just a made up kind of thing, So I would have to say it's, my mom's cooking, and her homemade sauce, which Anne makes, and she hadn't made it in quite a while. I might have to speak to her about that. My sister-in-law, my brother's wife, does it very well. But you also have to understand, everybody in our family, we have the Cipriano stomach. And mostly it was caused by my mom's sauce. It was so, there was something acidic about her, whatever, but we would all have tummy aches afterwards. But it was the best tummy ache you could ever have.
I was about to say, it was just worth it. It was worth it. It's like you knew going in, like, this is not going to be good for my body, but I'm going to enjoy every mouthful. I love it.
And whenever I'm back home, we have that. We make antipasta that the way my mom used to make it. We all get together and make it together. And just did it for New Year's, Christmas, actually. We were down in West Palm. Our son and daughter-in-law were there as well. And we had a Christmas Eve party at our daughter's house, and Anne made that. So that's, So I'm lucky that I still have, I don't have to miss it. Yeah. I still get it.
I love that. I love it. All right. Question number 5. If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't take it seriously. Commit yourself to what you want to do, what your passion is. Believe in it. And just do it. And do it 100% to the utmost.
Yeah.
And just know that it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
It's all going to be good.
Yeah.
And you will achieve, maybe you won't achieve that lofty goal. Maybe you will. But guess what? You're going to find all these goals along the way are very satisfying, and just believing in that, in the journey, and doing it.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Joe. That's question number 5. That is our Fast 5, and that is the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Episode 100. Joe Cipriano, I cannot thank you enough for I call it friendship now. I don't know if you're going to put it in that category, but I call it friendship, but your guidance.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for being here. If folks want to keep up with you, whether it be on socials or find out more about your masterclass, what's the best way that they can keep up with you?
Well, joecipriano.com. Everything is pretty much there. I realized you brought up something about that wonderful honor, the Lifetime Achievement Award, this past December of 2024 that I received, and my whole family was there. That was a big moment, Rob, to have my grandkids there. Ooh, that was so fun and so good. I don't have anything up on my website that references the Lifetime Achievement Award. But yeah, pretty much everything is there. About the masterclasses, you could just go to promomasterclass.com, and that pretty much has all the information on that. I love Instagram, Joe Cipriano VO there. On Facebook, you should be able to find me, no problem there. And Twitter, I don't do too much, but it's Joe Cip.
Well, I will make sure that I put the links to all of those in the show notes so that folks can click that and to become, the fan of the voice that they know that they didn't know, that I know that I am. And again, Joe, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate your time and your talent and just your willingness to be here with me. It means the world.
You. I wish you all the best in your personal life and your professional life.
Thank you. And if you would like to support this podcast, I'd appreciate it if you bought me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. But until next time, I look forward to the chance we have to sit a spell and chew the fat.